going up against the San Francisco 49ers and Brock Purdy, who had his only 4 losses of his entire career this season. It's going to be a very, very tall task for Green Bay and for Jordan Love. While Brock Purdy and the 49ers, they had a little bit of a downswing early in the season, but have come back to life in the past couple weeks. Now they're set to face a very young, hungry, and so far dominant Green Bay Packer team. I want to know, what's more likely, a Jordan Love upset or a 49er blowout?
This is kind of a repeat of what I just said about the Texans and the Ravens. I think that it's going to be a very close game. I don't think that the 49ers will cover the point spread, but I do think they'll find a way to win the game. I got the score 31-28, so it's going to be close. The Packers, wow, they look great against the Cowboys, and Jordan Love looks like a world beater, huh? And the last 3 games, they've scored 38 points a game. They've got a great O-line, offensive line. They gave up the 3rd fewest sacks in the season. They're 9th in yards per carry. They have a great running back in Aaron Jones. Their wide receiver core is young and hungry and looks almost elite. Dobbs is a great prospect and player so far for them, only in his 2nd year. And I just think their defense, that's why they're not going to win this game, I think. I think that it's going to be really close. I think the 49ers actually have some pressure on them because Shanahan, while he's had some great teams and they've had some nice runs, he's lost some big playoff games, right? Yeah. He lost last year in the NFC Championship game. And the year before that, he lost, wasn't it the Super Bowl? Or was it the year before or the year before that? I think it was
2019, he lost the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That was against the Kansas City Chiefs.
So he's never won the Super Bowl.
Never.
He's never won the Super Bowl. So I think if they lost this game, I think they'll be on Shanahan. I think they'll be on Brock Purdy too. They'll say he's no good. So there's some pressure on the 49ers. They have the advantage of playing at home. And I do think they're going to win, but it's going to be close.
So, I'm taking a risk. But I'll say this. We've seen Brock Purdy and people, MVP player, right? And that's what people are arguing. We've argued that maybe 3 or 4 times on the show. And I said, no, he's not an MVP player. And what I always look at, what I've hoped to see from Brock Purdy is, can he fight through adversity? Because this 49er team is so good that there's really no adversity. But in this season and in particular moments, we have seen maybe 4 times Brock Purdy not look all that great. In his 4 losses, these are his numbers. Completion percentage, 60%. Passing yards a game, about 254. Touchdowns, 3. Total turnovers, 11. A passer rating of 68.4. Very similar to Lamar Jackson in the playoffs, at least the passer rating. So when Brock Purdy is faced with adversity, it hasn't been good. In his 4 losses, he's been terrible. Absolutely terrible. What about his head coach, Kyle Shanahan? Everyone thinks Kyle Shanahan, and based on everyone who comes out of the Shanahan tree, performs very well. How about him as a head coach? How does he do when he needs to fight against adversity? When trailing by 7 or more points in the second half and in the fourth quarter, these are the numbers. He's horrible. 4-42 when trailing by 7+ points, including the playoffs. 4-42 and trailing in the second half of 7+. And that's an entire half. You're only down by a touchdown. What about in the fourth quarter alone? 2-41. He is terrible. And that's where in the Raven game I said, if the Ravens can get up by a field goal, they have a great shot. A phenomenal shot to win the game. Well, it didn't take them long to go up by a field goal. They didn't need to do it in the fourth quarter. So I think when it comes to this game, what we've seen from the Packers is they are shockingly good. Surprisingly good. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. All my expectations was to see if Jordan Love could replicate what Aaron Rodgers did last season. Well, safe to say, he crushed those expectations and actually was better than Aaron Rodgers. Dontavian Wicks, very good receiver recently. Christian Watson, he has had health issues, but as a deep threat, last season we saw he could do it. Romeo Doubs this year had a great year. Luke Musgrave had a great year, especially in the playoff game. There was a touchdown where you could zoom out. It was basically like every Brock Purdy throw. You zoom out, no one's on the screen. So I said this about Tampa Bay. The year is too weird for me to pick a bunch of the favorites. And if you did, actually, you would lose actually a bunch of money if you bet the money line on every favorite so far in this season. You lose, I think I saw it was like $1,000. So in this game, I took the risk. I don't think we had a show. We may have been doing the show. By the way, and this is not relevant, but we've hit 2 years 2 days ago, 2 years doing the Harvey Hour. But I don't know if we were doing the show. We may have, we may not have. When Green Bay played San Francisco, I bet my friend and said, how about this? Jimmy G is going to beat the 49ers outright. Completely outright. We bet about $50. Well, thanks to special teams and thanks to Aaron Rodgers completely falling apart in the second half, the Packers lost to Jimmy G. And in this case, that was the last time the Packers were in the playoffs. And what this season has shown is that it's a revenge season. We've seen the Eagles beat the Cowboys consistently. The Cowboys beat them this year. We saw the Detroit Lions beat the Chiefs. We saw the Eagles, after losing the Super Bowl, they beat the Chiefs. We see a number of teams have revenge games. And in this case, I'm saying that that trend continues. I'll get the Packers winning 34-31. I just think that this young team is playing on such a heater right now. And here's something else that's very, very interesting. The main losses that the 49ers had this season. So, in legitimately, they had 5 losses this season. In 4 of their 5 losses, they allowed over 100 rushing yards. The Green Bay Packers this season have nearly every single game. They have 6 games this season under 100 rushing yards. So if they hit 100 rushing yards, the data shows that you have a very good chance at beating this 49ers team. And something else that has to be spoken about is Brock Purdy, because the numbers say it. Let's bring up the numbers again. The numbers say that Brock Purdy is a massive factor in these 49er losses. 11 total turnovers to only 3 touchdowns in the 4 losses. I mean, the writing was on the wall with the Cowboys. Maybe I'm crazy, but I just have it's been an incredibly weird year. It's been a revenge year. Teams have been, beating teams that last year they lost to. It's a revenge year.
Yeah.
So I'm going with the Packers winning.
You know what? You might be right. Generally, and let's see, 1, 2, 3. There's 4 games this weekend, right? There's going to be an upset. There's always is. Last week there were several upsets, right? The Texans beating the Browns.
Half of the games were upsets.
Half the games are upsets. So there's going to be an upset this week. I think the most probable upsets are the Texans could potentially beat the Ravens and the Packers beating the 49ers. I think you're onto something there. I think the more likely one is the Packers beating the 49ers. I have that a 3-point game, and I think it could go either way, and it will be fun to watch.
I think what Matt LaFleur needs to do, and he's shown that it isn't all Aaron Rodgers was the reason why his massive success. You go in with the youngest team in the NFL, but Jordan Love, who in the beginning of the season looked horrible, and you transformed into this quarterback who's 21-1 touchdown-to-interception ratio in the past 9 games. We're seeing a tremendous growth in a pretty short amount of time, a couple months, and all of a sudden he looks like a top 10 quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
And he does that against the second best pass rushing team in the NFL. Yeah. I understand the Dallas Cowboys in the playoffs, but still, the talent on there and to excel to that level so quickly in your first playoff game with the youngest team, that shows great leadership in the part of Jordan Love, getting his teammates hyped and ready for the game, and that's Matt LaFleur coaching his team to be prepared. And the magic number is 7. If you lead by 7 entering that second half, we'll bring up the numbers again. The chances of you winning are they're basically 99%.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be very fun to watch that game.
Near 91%.
A very exciting game, I think. 49ers might be the Packers may be the Cinderella team of the playoffs. Maybe they're the ones that are going to surprise everybody and go all the way.
Yeah. Maybe.
Could happen. I think the thing, though, what do you think about their defense?
That's what worries me a little bit. That definitely worries me a little bit. And what the Packers don't do well in on defense, the 49ers do very well in. They're 28th against the run. The 49ers, on the other hand, are third in the run. So you're going up against the 28th defense in the run, and you run at the third best team of any other team in the NFL. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Christian McCaffrey is the main cog that keeps the offense running. We saw it in the Ravens game. When Purdy was throwing 4 interceptions, a player that had a pretty good game that game was CMC. So that's my only worry about this, is that CMC will get going. He's fresh. He's a full participant. So that's my main concern when it comes to this team, is that Christian McCaffrey will have a pretty good game. That's really my only concern, though, because I know Brock Purdy's gonna throw to wide open receivers if they're open. But if he starts turning the ball over, if he has 2 interceptions in the first half, I'd say the Packers could be up by 7. And in that case, we go back to it. You have like a 95% chance to win. 92 if you're entering the second half, up by 7. So that's what I'm going with. I don't love it. I don't trust the pick because it is the 49ers, and they basically have no holes on any side of their team, maybe kicking.
Their talent on offense is better than anybody's, and they're going up against a defense that's a little bit spotty.
Little bit. I would say it's decently spotty, but to go up against the Cowboys and do that to them, hey.
The defense played well against the Cowboys. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Now you could say, 32 points. Yeah, at that point, backups were in. Jordan Love was out. Like, it was a bunch of, you don't even got to worry about that. 21 completions, or 21 attempts for Jordan Love.
Yeah.
He had over 270 yards and 3 touchdowns?
Well, they have a great running game.
They do.
Aaron Jones, right? Their offensive
Cowboy
line.
killer. Cowboy killer right
They have
there.
A complete offense, I think.
Their
wide receiver core is underrated.
I would
really
agree with you
come
there.
on.
Right.
Their offensive line is good. Their running back is great. Their quarterback is an emerging star. I think they have a complete offense. I think it's their defense that cost them this game by a very small margin.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, if you want to check out the full episode, make sure you click the I in the top right-hand corner right now. If you want to listen to this show anywhere you go, make sure you go to anchor.fm/The Harvey Hour or anywhere you get your podcasts.